So I was thinking about something the other day that kind of jumped out at me. And it kind of jumped out like about a year or so ago. It started with these videos, these recommended videos for like Japan restaurant cooking videos. And it's essentially where these people, these tourists or these filmographers, journalists, whatever you want to call them, they would go into these Japanese restaurants, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the late afternoon, and they would just film the restaurant of them like opening up the store, prepping the food for the initial customers, and the entire video is basically like the whole kitchen just working, essentially. And they were very satisfying videos. There's so many of them. There's a range of them. Some videos where some of the filmers are on the street and it's like a little ramen kiosk that they build every morning at 2 a.m. until they leave at the end of the day at 12 a.m., you know, doing 22-hour shifts. And they go through like the entire process with these restaurants or these people that own their own little restaurants in Japan. A lot of them are ramen. My favorite ones are the ramen ones, ramen and pork cutlets. It's kind of a staple in these videos. Sometimes they'll interview them, but a majority of the time it's just them working, breaking their back, hand making these the ramen broth and like the pork cutlets. They chop them and then they plate them and they serve them, and they're very satisfying. Something about it is very satisfying, like the atmosphere that it conveys, because a lot of the times these restaurants aren't big restaurants. They're not like American chain restaurants like Applebee's.
No, I hate to be a pain.
I asked for no onions on my bourbon steak.
Oh, I am so sorry. I thought you asked for onions.
Maybe don't interrupt me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to.
Yeah, well, I think you did mean to, and I also think that you meant to put the damn onions on my steak.
Okay, Bruce.
They're not like American chain restaurants such as the staple American restaurant known as Applebee's.
I'm a veteran! Dad! And I'm diabetic! Dad! Why are you doing this? Applebee's has rats! I found a whole rat in my Cobb salad!
Or Chili's.
I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back, baby back, baby back. I want my baby back ribs.
For a majority in these little Japan restaurants, they're little Japan restaurants. Sometimes they go to China. There's some Chinese ones as well. And Korean, China, Japan. You know, I don't know if this is like a racist thing to say, and I don't know, I'm ignorant to how they view each other, but is China like the South, and then Japan is like the New York of Asia, and Korea is like California of Asia? Who's the Canadians of Asians? Like, what is the relation for like North America to be related to Asian countries? Like, what is China to North America? What is Japan to North America? What is Korea to North America? What is the Canada of Asia? Is it Thailand? Vietnam? I don't know if I'm even allowed to say that without getting some type of punishment. I hope it doesn't sound a certain way. I don't mean it to sound a certain way. I hope it doesn't sound a certain way. But there's these other videos as well that have been very popular that have trended the same way as these cooking, like from scratch type videos. And it's these salaryman videos, or, you know, salary person, not... There's men and women. Now these are kind of specifically, I think a lot of them are in Korea. Some of them are in Japan, I think. Yeah, I think some of them are in Japan because a lot of them talk about working in Tokyo. And these are like a doom scroller's dream of content. It's essentially Office Space, but for the modern Asian vlogger. So what it is essentially the start of a person's day, them going into work, them leaving work, and the activities that they do after work, which is very limited because they work like 16-hour shifts overtime, mandatory overtime with no overtime pay, which is ridiculous. In the US, if we had mandatory overtime with no overtime pay, we would probably start a civil war. Listen, if I'm doing overtime, I'm getting paid for it, okay? Don't tell me there's no pay. Are you telling me, am I getting paid for this overtime?
I'm gonna need you to go ahead and come in tomorrow. So if you could be here around 9, that would be great. Okay?
If I'm not getting paid, there's no overtime. But you know, for a lot of people in Japan and Korea and these like Asian high functioning society business Asian countries, they have to work mandatory overtime and they don't get paid for it. So with a lot of these workers that work in these offices in Asia, what they started doing is just kind of filming their day and like what they do after work and them going to work and kind of filming it. And there's something about these types of videos where it brings like some type of like aesthetic and atmosphere. Really, the aesthetic is just the Asian, like just the countryside, like just the landmarks that you see in these videos, like restaurants that you would never see in America, or, you know, streets of Japan or China or Korea that you would not see in America unless you went to Chinatown, which some of them kind of represent real places in Asia. I think I've been to Chinatown maybe one time. I don't think I've ever been to a Chinatown. I'm not sure. But there's like a vibe of not dread, maybe dread. I'm not sure if it's dread, but it's just like there's like a heavy-weighted feeling behind like these videos, people doing back-breaking stuff, just being like, I don't know, I'm not the type of person that talks about society type stuff, but like being part of the system and being forced to work and do this, and you have to do it every day, and it's back-breaking and you can't speak up against it or whatever. That's not this channel. I'm just kind of highlighting what these people go through, I guess. But they're fun to watch. I'm saying these videos are like shockingly fun to watch. Not fun as in like fun as in they're interesting to watch. It's interesting content. But it also got me thinking of like there's a type of vibe that you get when you go to like Chinese takeout. When you get Chinese takeout to Chinese takeout restaurants, where it's always this small little enclosed space. When I worked in the city, I would always go to a Japanese restaurant on my lunch breaks, sometimes for like maybe occasionally get dinner there as well. But I would always go to this little Japanese restaurant, which was not surprisingly right beside a nail salon. They were connected. I don't know if they were the same owners or not. Maybe it was just a coincidence. Typically, I want to say that it is, but there's another Chinese restaurant that I go to every so often, and there just so happens to be a nail salon attached to it as well. It's just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. But there's something so quaint about just like a small restaurant, a small Japanese restaurant, Chinese restaurant, or even in America, like if there's like a local hot wing place, typically there's just like 2 tables and you can pick up like your food. You just pretty much pick up the food and go. There was always something so calming about these small little restaurants that had just like the 1 or 2 tables pretty much for people to wait at while they wait for their takeout. And you could eat at all of these restaurants. You can eat at these restaurants, but the majority of customers that are going in there are getting food to take out. They're getting takeout. Getting takeout food, not dining in. But I would always go to this Japanese restaurant. It was just like a very small, quaint, very quiet, had one TV in the corner playing news that I've never even heard of, a news channel that doesn't even exist but somehow is on the TV. And I would always ask for like the same food, or like sometimes I would get like a sushi roll, but I would usually get like a chicken shrimp fried rice type thing, or hibachi. And there's something about the atmosphere of these little tiny takeout places. Usually the construction is exactly the same. You walk in, it's very small, there's like a couple tables, and there's like a big counter. You know, you order at the counter, you can kind of see back into the kitchen, where the kitchen is like huge. Like the kitchen is 4 times the size of what it looks like in the front. Or it's like the kitchen's like a tiny like hall. It's like a tiny hall. And then there's like a wok that's always on. Then there's only one person back there that's always flipping something, doing some order. Somehow I feel like they're already cooking your order before you even tell them what you want. Because I swear every time I order, I'm thinking I gotta wait for them to finish that order before they start my order. But it turns out they were working on my order the whole time. I don't know how they pulled that off, but they did. Very fast. And I always like the yum yum sauce. The yum yum sauce is like the best sauce ever. Yum yum sauce is the greatest sauce of all time. On the rice, on the chicken, on the shrimp, give me extra yum yum sauce. And give me a high C to drink. Extra ice. Or no ice, it doesn't matter. But what is it about these like small places that have like such an aesthetic, such a little atmosphere? These Chinese restaurants, takeout restaurants, little Japanese restaurants, takeout restaurants, have just like a small, satisfying feeling when you walk inside. I want to almost say it's similar to Subway. Like I don't really like Subway that much, but the smell is iconic, and like the smallness is kind of iconic. The spokesperson is iconic for different reasons. Not so iconic, or actually very iconic. But these iconic small places, usually in like like these little restaurants. It reminds me, and the same thing applies as well with like Asian 7-Elevens. Asian 7-Elevens have just the amount of stuff that they have there is kind of different than American 7-Elevens. The American 7-Elevens are kind of cool. I don't really have 7-Elevens in my area, but I have, you know, Circle K's and service stations. But really for like America, like good like 7-Eleven, Wawa, Circle K is about like the good coffee that you can get and some of those snacks and those sodas.
Hey, guys. Whoa, big gulps, huh? All right. Well, see you later.
But like a Asian 7-Eleven has like sandwiches, 50 flavors of ramen. I'm pretty sure you can get like $2 pork bacon. I've seen it in a Salaryman video where they get like a $2 pork bacon thing, and then they cook it on their hot plate at home. And then they add their little ramen or rice noodles, and they make like a whole meal out of it that they bought at 7-Eleven. I guess in America you could get a whole meal at 7-Eleven. You could get like some taquitos that are on the roller, or the hot dog, get the blue slushy with the alligator as the mascot. What's the alligator mascot slushy? Not an icy, not the polar bear icy. There's a slushy, and the mascot was like an alligator with sunglasses, and they were tart. The blue ones were like tart. Very good stuff. That's some good stuff. That's an American meal right there. That is definitely what American truckers live off of. They live off that, Vienna sausages, Slim Jims, but an Asian salaryman lives off of pork, bacon, and ramen, I guess. I don't know what this video is about. I had an idea where like I literally said, like, make a video where you talk about Chinese takeout, small Japanese restaurant, breaking down why salaryman / Japanese convenience stores are appealing. They are appealing. What else did it say? Hot dog stands. Oh, I think for like Japanese small convenience stores, the reason why they're so appealing is because, you know, people in America don't really know about many of them. But I want to say that it's almost the same feeling as like a hot dog stand in New York, or like a gift shop. The novelty of it, the like appeal that is, apart from the aesthetic being like what is culturally there. Like, I'm culturally looking at something that's Asian, and the appeal and the novelty of it is that it's a small enclosed space with Asian culture being represented, whether it be Asian food, Asian gifts like Hello Kitties and anime or something. Like, there's nothing more novel and Asian as like an internet cafe. Internet cafes are very popular in Asia, like Japan, and I guess people hang out there. I saw a video title where someone lived in one. Someone said, I stayed in a internet cafe for a week and here's what happened. But those are like very popular, kind of like their libraries are like, there's like a room and you can just like read manga in a room. I mean, I don't see how that would be how the derivative of a library has to differ that much where you need an entire separate room. That's why we tell people not to talk in a library, but you know, it is what it is. There's something about these small, intimate places that are really found in Asian culture. These like compact areas with like lots of stuff. Like, I don't really feel the same way about like the streets of Egypt. The streets of Egypt are kind of similar, where it's just a lot of stuff like right beside each other, but it's very congested. Like, if you look at a video of like the streets of Egypt, there's just stuff everywhere. There's too much stuff. There's like an alley that has 50,000 rugs hanging from the ceilings, and then there's like gold, there's gold, Egyptian gold, real gold, like all this stuff, and it's like too congested. But in Asian places, like with these little takeout restaurants, little Japanese stores, Japanese 7-Elevens, they're very comfy, they're cozy, and they're aesthetically appealing to the eye, and they're like surprisingly minimal and clean. I think that's what it is. It's just really clean as well. Very cleanliness. But I think that's the reason why I like games like Shenmue and Yakuza. I don't really play that many Yakuza games, and I really don't care for Yakuza. I mean, it's really just Japanese soap operas released every year, which is not a bad thing. I say you gotta call it what it is, though. It's a Japanese soap opera. But Shenmue and Yakuza had like the exact same sort of like aesthetic, and and that same like spacing. The surroundings in the world were very compact. The places you could go into in the first Shenmue were like it was already like a small little district, but the places you went into were very like intimate, but very detailed. And something about the environment was like it was just like a comfortable environment. There wasn't too much going on the screen. It was pleasant to go into different places in Shenmue and Yakuza. Some of those Yakuza games are, at this point, one of the main staples, one of the main draw-ins is like the map and being able to go into these small stores. It's iconic. But I think that's the appeal, and something about that, it relates to the lifestyle of some Japanese and Korean people where they live in these small spaces. That's what they're like familiar with, and that's what they're comfortable with. Even when taking out of a setting of like a very corporate business setting, those like small things are what appeals to them. And a lot of people, not just my oven went off, I have to cook my Salisbury steak, I'm an American. But no, like you know, you watch all these salaryman videos or day in the life videos of a very stressed out 20-hour-a-day worker, and they have their little, like they have a little hot plate in their home. They have a tiny home with like tiny everything. But that's not what I mean. Like there's something appealing about it, where someone in Asian culture doesn't want to be the asshole CEO and the boss that's like, oh, you gotta do more work and you gotta do overtime because we're telling you, Jesus Christ, you gotta do overtime with no additional pay. Like of course those workers, those same people are gonna gravitate towards like being minimal because they have minimal time and they don't want to be like these rich managers, CEOs, where instead of having enough money to have everything, when they barely have enough money to live, they just want to have like a small space in a ramen shop for their own personal space. That and drink heavily. A lot of these people drink very heavily. Hey, it's kind of like we built America off of drinking very heavily. And for like salarymen, like these people, it's like the norm because they're always in business meetings that have no relevancy to any type of production. So that's what I'm saying. It's like these small, cozy places, there's something appealing to it, something aesthetic, and it kind of relates to like being against having things that are lavish because the people that are associated with them are dickhead CEOs that own businesses that chastise the working man and woman. And that's what I thought about every day when I was eating my nice little Japanese shrimp chicken fried rice on my lunch break with my yum yum sauce, extra yum yum sauce, and my high C, no ice, because the ice is just going to take up the room in the cup. I just want more high C, and it prevents me from having to get up and getting a refill. I think that's what this video is about. Fuck CEOs and fracking. And I think what I'm saying is I really do like those videos where the journalists go in and they open up shop and they're cooking throughout the day. Watching a restaurant in Japan or Korea and China just cook food all day for like an hour is better than ASMR. Highly recommend it. No point. There's no point to this. I have no ending for this. I'm not ready to film. I'm ready to film. Guys, I was thinking about not uploading this. Whatever.